And we are recording. So earlier today, I had a chat with the international cricketer, bit of a legend, Steve Smith, and now, unfortunately, all I've got is you, Pete.
Mate,
So
I was
what an intro!
following,
What an intro!
following Steve Smith. I don't know if that's because you regard me so highly, or you
No,
want me to, or you want me to feel awkward about following one of the world's best cricketers.
yeah, no pressure.
Thought-
So if you can try and live up to that standard.
Yeah.
So just to introduce you to people that don't know you, so pretty much everyone. So we've been mates since we were 15. We met at secondary school. We went all through secondary school, played rugby together. We've been on rugby tours. We went to university together. We lived together at university. We went interrailing around Europe. We went, what else did we do? We came to Australia to watch the
lived together in Pyrmont.
World Cup. Yeah,
Pyrmont.
we watched England win the World Cup. So we've known each other for a bloody long time. And so you're living and working in London. You're a bit of an entrepreneur, or that's what you say, but none of us really know what you do. And you've currently got a successful company in the fintech space, if I'm right, called ShieldPay.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I know what I'm talking about. So, long story short, we've known each other for a long time.
You've got some good ammunition.
Yeah, and we were chatting on the phone the other day when I was going to get a coffee after one of my halves, and we were sort of talking back about everything that we've been through, this piece of work that I'm doing around mental health awareness, and yet I remember last year when I put out my message on Facebook that basically said 4 or 5 years ago I went through this really difficult time when my friend passed away. I wasn't speaking, I was drinking too much, had depression for about a year and came out of it. And you messaged me to say, what? Why didn't you tell me? And then through our conversation, you then told me that you'd been through a really difficult part as well a few years earlier. And I was like, well, why didn't you tell me? And so I thought we could start there. And that just before we jumped on, we were talking about that statistic of, I think it's 70 or 80% of blokes say that I'd be there for my mates, although less than 40%, I think it is, feel that their mates are there for them. And it's a bit strange. And so we were saying, the conversation between us was basically, well, why didn't you tell me, and what's going on there?
Yeah.
So I suppose that's one thing. This is probably the most serious conversation we've ever had without a couple of beers. But what are your thoughts around that, and where should we start? Should we start with your story first?
Yeah. I mean, it's sort of touch on it, but I think that statistic plays true everywhere, I think. But guys just don't talk to each other as much. You know, not on the phone. Maybe pre-COVID-19, definitely weren't on the phone as much. You have 4 or 5 minute conversations. How you doing? You're right. Great. Move on. But yeah, in terms of what happens, I mean, it's about 5 years ago now. So, some business went under, lost everything, had to reset life basically, and it all happened really quickly. So I think the first month after we shut it down, it was just shell shock, because it's, you know, it's pretty. I've spoken to a few people it's happened to as well, and it feels like someone's died. And the trouble with sort of startups, when you build it from scratch, it's kind of your baby, but you internalize everything. So all the best days at the company are like euphoric, And then the worst
Yeah.
days are, you know, absolutely terrible because you internalize everything. And so when it failed, I failed, and
Yeah.
you know there were news articles out showing how I had failed, and you're like, well, so yeah, it was basically just your life just goes into this weird kind of bubble where you're just trying to figure out, like, am I alive? What's next? And yeah, so I guess I didn't talk about it for a while because I just didn't know how to respond to it, like, because I'd never been through something like that before. And so when people ask, you okay, like the honest answer was, I don't know, because I wasn't sure what I was feeling, because I hadn't gone through anything like that. I'm quite fortunate that, you know, not saying I've had a sheltered life or anything, but it's been, you know, classic school, uni, travel, job, you know, it's been pretty great. And then you work hard and then something fails, and it's like, that was the first time life had properly kicked me in the bollocks. And you're like, what? Okay, I just didn't know how to act in that, because, you know, playing rugby at Loughborough and stuff, we used to win it all the time. It was always great. You know, yeah, that was the first time I'd properly failed, and it sucked. Really
No,
sucked.
I used to beat you quite a lot. Um, and so, because I even remember phoning you to check in on you, and yeah, to your point, it's the standard. Yeah, it's all good. You know, these things happen. Just the old standard responses. But
you have a template for what you're going to say, because you don't. It's painful going through it and talking about it. So you just have a standard response. I just had a standard response. Yeah, I'm all right. Yeah, getting through it. Blah blah blah. It's you have this instant defense mechanism, because for me, I every time I talked about it, it just sent me down the spiral again. And it took months to get out of that habit of not having that defense mechanism and actually opening up about it. Yeah, it was very strange.
And it was interesting because just before we jumped on the call, we were just briefly talking about, I suppose, this as well. And one of the things you said that really resonated with me, and actually a lot of my male relationships, is a lot of the time when you speak to them, you're looking for a bit of an escape. You want it just to be fun. You're looking for, I suppose, you just, like, our relationship is 99% of the time we're complete idiots, and I'm winding you up, or you're winding me up, or we're fighting. We're acting like we're 15 again when we first met. And and so it was difficult. I felt as well, it was difficult to then shift gear from 15-year-olds taking the piss of each other to putting your hand up and saying, I'm actually really struggling here.
Yeah, I mean, you have certain friends that know everything about you, and you know, you're one of those. But it's more, yeah, you and I hadn't really gone through something like that together, so it wasn't like,
as a couple.
I wanted to speak to you and then just not think about it. As in, like, I think I told you when, so one of the articles came out in the newspaper that morning, it was obviously like horrific. And then there was like lots of voicemails from people who were like, oh my God, what's going on? And one of them was you, absolutely off your face, singing down the phone at 3 a.m. And I was like, that to me was like, okay, it made me chuckle for about half a second because of all the stuff that was going on. But like, I guess I wanted to have a bit of life that was normal when all around me was just in complete chaos. That's kind of how I looked at it. It wasn't a reflection on our relationship, as in, I can't turn to Avery. It was more, I actually wanted to keep some normality to my life because everything else was on fire.
But you also said, and again, it's similar to me, that you said it wasn't a reflection on our relationship and you couldn't speak. It's not that you couldn't speak to me, but then also you didn't actually speak to anyone in your close circle. And that was something that I didn't do either. So
It
there must have
was
been an element of, I can't talk to people, or maybe I just don't want to.
I think it was like, I don't want to. It wasn't like it was, like I said, it's like scratching on a cut. Every time you spoke to someone about it, it just reopened again. Which is the wrong thing to do. Absolutely the wrong thing to do. The right thing to do is just get everything out.
Yeah.
Whereas I was just trying to fix it internally, and then hiding away from folks who could probably help me get through it a lot quicker. So yeah, I think guys they probably just don't want to. When something bad happens, it's more like, I'll just try and compartmentalize it in my brain and park it over there and not think about it and not talk about it. Whereas I think with girls, and it's the fact that they talk about everything, but it's more that they get it out a lot better than we do. It gets out in the open. They can take opinions from people without thinking that they're going to get judged. Whereas guys are like, oh, I'm just going to put that right at the back of my brain, so I don't think about it, and it just doesn't do anyone any good.
Yeah, definitely. Because I mean, I was resistant to reach out to you because, or actually a lot of my friends, because the majority of my friends are what I would say successful in different things, but you feel like such a failure at the time. You do feel like you're going to be judged.
Yeah. I mean, bizarrely, like, I guess you go through all this, is that people have got their own stuff going on. So they don't think about you as much as you think they do. So yeah, it was more like I think I've got a close network of people who, I obviously including you, that I think if it happened again, I would definitely do it differently.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I probably extended out the pain by about 6 months by not talking about it.
Yeah, 100%. Because I remember, I think it took, I can't even remember it because it's all a bit blurry, but I think it took me 6 months to even just go, and I think I went along to the doctor. He asked me what was going on, and then it was like, blah.
Yeah.
And then burst into tears and felt immediately better afterwards. And I was like, okay.
Should have done that 6 months ago.
But then, of course, I went back to normal, back to reality, and didn't talk to anyone again, and it just built up again.
Yeah, and then alcohol's the worst thing. I mean, you sort of mentioned it. It was a coping mechanism because you just want to numb yourself.
And we're back. So we had a few technical issues there, and we both completely forgot what we were talking about. So why don't we, Pete? We'll sort of summarize what's changed now, because I think that's the important bit, because we've gone through, I suppose, the story and why we didn't speak. So why don't we talk about what's changed now? So if you were to go through something similar in the future, what would you do differently?
I think I'd talk about it a lot more in terms of the build up to stuff. If stuff's not going right, or I'm having issues, it's talking about them as they're happening rather than building them all up until some big event when you therefore you feel like it's almost too much to lay on someone. Like it's almost like, well, I've got a girlfriend now who's talking to her about, oh, you've had a shitty day. Talk about that rather than just like, it's all shit, bottle it all up and then explode on someone. And you don't want to lay that much hassle on someone all at once. So I think I've got a lot better at talking through what's good, what's bad. I think my communication is just a lot better around those types of topics.
I wouldn't go that far, but
I mean,
and your mum, your mum's going to tell you off. Your mum's going to tell you off for swearing.
She'll be fine.
But yeah, I think you're completely right. I think the the big thing for me as well that we touched upon earlier is the whole judgment thing. Like, I feel as though everybody has shit days,
Yeah.
and that I know that if I reached out to you, if I'm going through a really bad time, I could reach out to you and you wouldn't judge me, and it would just be, get as you say, releasing the pressure valve, getting it off your chest, and hopefully it wouldn't build up into something bigger in the future. I think that's the big thing, isn't it? And you froze it again. Oh,
stuff.
Yeah.
Did it freeze? No, it's that pressure
Freeze
valve.
for a second.
Did it? It's saying my internet connection is unstable.
Oh,
is it bad?
That's fine.
Sorry. Yeah. So that valve and opening that up. I mean, there's a good friend of ours. Won't name him, but he sent me a text yesterday. Having a really bad day. One of his deals fell through. I called him 3 times, didn't pick up. I was like, "Come on, mate, don't say stuff like that and then not let someone talk to you about it." Yeah, I think just guys are just hide away a lot more than they should. Like, he's just come and meet me, go for a coffee, just have a chat. It doesn't need to be all doom and gloom, but at least that valve, that just turning that valve a little bit is important.
Definitely, mate. Well, I think we've pretty much covered it all now, and I think it's important for people to know that. And I think we mentioned this before, but it doesn't. I think one of the things that may put off blokes as well is you think once you've opened that conversation up around feelings and how scary that is, that's all you're going to talk about. Whereas I know as soon as this is finished, we're going to go back to being 15-year-olds taking the piss out of each other. Awesome. So what we'll do now, Pete, is we'll jump into those 5 questions that I'm asking everybody.
Yeah.
You ready? I'm going to whiz through these. Okay. Question 1. Do you shave your toes?
And do you do this?
These are quick yes or no questions.
I don't anymore. I did it once.
Cool.
Did it once.
Question 2. Did you once tell me you'd got me into the London Marathon only to let me know a month before it was on, but you actually hadn't?
Yeah.
Yep. How many times have I shaved your eyebrows off?
Eyebrows. Individually, you've shaved one eyebrow off twice.
Fantastic. Did you once buy a pair of glasses with no lenses because you thought you looked cool?
No, they had plastic lenses, and that was in Paris.
Just as bad. And the final question, again, that I'm asking everybody, Pete, was did you once say your ideal girlfriend was with you with long hair?
No, I don't know where that came from. Jim's making that up.
Yes, you did, and I can get.
I'm going to give you this one because of the amount of effort that you're putting in to this. You realize, like, all the effort you put up on building your fan base of runners, I could destroy your reputation in about 5 seconds. But I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. I genuinely, what you've done is very impressive, and I don't tell you that. It pains me to tell you that.
You can call me your hero if you want.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing. I did two half marathons a week apart and blew my Achilles, and you've done 21 of them, and you look like you could probably go and do another one right now. Yeah, you're a bit of a freak, but well done.
Thanks, mate.
Keep it up, mate.
Well,
it's very impressive.
Thanks for joining me today, and in all honesty, thanks so much for being open, and because it's, as you said, as we said right at the beginning, it's not usual for blokes to talk like this, but it should be. And I know we've done it and recorded it, and I'm going to put it on social media as well, which sort of adds to the pressure. But at the same time, the aim is that in however much amount of time, this should just be normal, and it should be within.
Yeah.
It should be in schools being taught. It should be within clubs being taught. And so blokes don't get to the point where they feel as though they haven't got any other option but to.
Like stuff that you've done, it's removing the stigma of it.
Yeah,
it's removing
100%.
And you've done a great job with that, mate.
Awesome. Well, thanks again, mate. And we can go back to being 15-year-olds tomorrow.
Jimmy Tora, like the end of that interview was exactly what I thought you'd do. Like,
I haven't finished. I haven't hung up yet, so don't say anything. But thanks again, mate, and I'll speak to you soon.
Keep
it clean.